Hey guys, how are you today? Michelle Scott here. I'm on day 3 of 365 days of reaching out and connecting, trying to develop a commitment to myself and not develop, trying to fulfill a commitment that I've made to myself. And just so you know, I have been doing these videos unedited. So you're looking at videos that I have just spoken through, have not edited. At some point, I'll probably try my hand at that and get a little bit more creative. But right now, I am not striving for perfection. I'm striving for improvement. So thank you so much for joining me on my travels here throughout the entire next 362 more days. Anyway, because math is hard. So I thought about today what I could bring to you. My energy levels have been a little low. I had an excellent evening last night with friends, very, very dear friends. We had some really wonderful, very intimate conversations with each other, in the sense that just confiding in each other and how life is actually going and what our dreams are and what our aspirations are. And it's really fun to have friends that you can do that with. And so I just want to thank the people that I spent last night with and just was able to enjoy that. So, but today I'm a little just tired, I guess is what it is. So, but I'm pressing through because I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for improvement. So today I got to thinking, I was watching a YouTube channel that I actually like, and just to kind of veg out after the day of work and just try to clear my mind. And, you know, it's just talking about how we're almost not allowed to be publicly funny. So comedians are actually having massively sold out shows, and people are flocking to go and see local comedians simply because they're too afraid to laugh in public anymore. And so apparently they're heading over to the comedy shows to laugh in a paid environment where you're supposed to laugh and you can't get quote unquote in trouble for it. So it just got me thinking, and for whatever reason, prohibition came to my mind, and I just asked myself, did prohibition work? Or did it create underground avenues for people to continue to do the things that they wanted to do, as well as build a scene of crime around it? So just something that was just odd in my head. You know, did prohibition work? Clearly it didn't, because it didn't last long. I firmly believe that when we try to live outside of freedom or press our will upon others, it just doesn't end well. Like the people, we are created by God with free will, and ultimately a person is going to finally push back enough to try and gain that in some way or another. I speak mostly probably of the culture in the United States, because that's the culture I know. Please know that I am speaking of my perspective, or from my perspective always. But I even see this, you know, I've traveled to all over Western Europe, Central Europe, Eastern Europe. I've traveled in the Middle East, traveled in the Caribbean and Mexico, and I see everybody striving for their level of freedom. Now, it might be freedom within the boundaries of their economic situation, or freedom and boundaries in the within the confines of their political situation, meaning the actual government of that country and what's allowing them to be free. But each individual is striving for a certain level of freedom. I've witnessed it. So yeah, it's just something cool that I was thinking about today. I don't know where I'm going to take that, or if I'm even going to take that further. Just something that was on my mind. So today it's probably not going to be one of my better videos. I don't know, I shouldn't say that out loud maybe, but I do have a level of fatigue, but I want to stick to my commitment because motivation doesn't need to exist, but dedication does. And so this is me dedicating to my every single day. And I keep asking you guys, what do you want to hear from me? As you're watching, please do let me know what you want to hear from me. I really do like the word I'm noticing this, and I really want to try to stop that. It is definitely a filler, and it is unnecessary. It's the holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is that you celebrate. In the U.S., we are here enjoying ourselves, and my mother and I got to go to New York City at the end of actual November, and we got to see all the lights, and we got to take a mother and daughter trip. It was so fun, and my mother and I have a very unique bond, relationship, and very intense feelings for each other, which can sometimes equate to intense disagreements. And if you're a daughter out there or a mother, let me hear what you have to say. But the mother-daughter relationship is so unique, and in a lot of ways can often be strained. And I try to wrap my head around that and try to understand that. But my mom and I can tend to hurt our feelings or hurt each other's feelings in ways that nobody else can hurt my feelings in that way, and nor my mom. And so those are some of the things that we kind of talked through on the trip. We had a great time. We had coffee in some of the best places and hot chocolate, and I took her to the Christmas market in Bryant Park, and we went to the Rockettes show and saw that, and that was amazing. We went to see the Neil Diamond tribute show, A Beautiful Noise. So much more profound, so much more deep, so much more thought-provoking than I ever thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to feel like a Mamma Mia, where we were all just singing and dancing and enjoying ourselves the whole time. Whereas you really got into the deep level of who Neil Diamond is and was, as he was striving for excellence and never feeling like he really got there. So I think a lot of people can probably relate to him. But I highly recommend going to see the show. Just know that it's probably heavier than what you think it's going to be, but you'll walk away glad that you saw it. Finally made it to Brooklyn. Funny story there. We did this tour, this Christmas lights tour. This gentleman, I think he's called Christmas in New York on Instagram. I'm not affiliated with him, but we took his tour, and they took us on a private van out to Diker Heights. Beautiful. Like, wow, how cool. We walked a little faster than what we needed to, or what we were intending to, but the tour guide kind of needed you to get around to the different houses, I guess, quicker than what we had anticipated. And Brooklyn's far more hilly than Manhattan. I pride myself in understanding the history of different places that I go to. I didn't realize that Manhattan was actually quite hilly. And it was actually leveled to create the grid, and then they stopped leveling it somewhere north, like kind of where you go to the Yankee Stadium, but then they didn't level it at all in Brooklyn. So I've been to New York City several times, and I've always seen flat New York City, and I just thought it was flat. And so we get to Brooklyn, it's kind of hilly, and we're walking around, and my mom had a bum knee, so that was a little bit of a shock for us. But after that, they drove us down to Dumbo, and that was really neat area. Beautiful, absolutely stunning views of the Brooklyn and Manhattan Bridge. my mother and I decided to stay behind, and we decided to walk around into a couple of the shops and just take pictures at our leisure, because our hotel was actually closer to that area than Times Square was, where we were going to actually be dropped back off. And so we went over to, I can't think of the name, there is a rooftop bar in this building that has multiple restaurants in it, right in between the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge. And on the rooftop, there's a place where you can take a picture, and there's the Brooklyn Bridge in the background, and it's just stunning. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. And my mom walks out and she's like, "Oh, look," and like looks at the sign, and she was like, "Oh, how cool." For the first time, I think ever in my life, I was like, my mom's so cool. She actually knows the Beastie Boys, because it said no sleep till ... and then you see the Brooklyn Bridge behind you, or behind it. So it's no sleep till Brooklyn. And I'm not going to age myself, but I grew up listening to the Beastie Boys. I think they're amazing. Always have, love them. And so I was like, oh my gosh, my mom knows the Beastie Boys. And so then I asked my mom, as she's doing, she's posing in front of the sign, before I realized she doesn't know what the heck the sign means. I said, "Hey mom, do like a little hip hop pose." And she was like, "What do you mean a hip hop pose?" And I was like, "I don't know, like do a hip hop pose in front of the sign." So she looks at me and she's like this, and she's literally moving. And I look at her and I'm just like, what is that? I'm like, that's not a hip hop pose. And so she finally, does one of those, leans back and does one of these poses, kind of gets that. She comes over to me and she's like, "Why did you ask me to do that?" And I said, "Mom, the sign." She's like, "Well, what does it even mean?" And I'm like, of course my mom doesn't know what it means. So then I told her, Beastie Boys, no sleep till Brooklyn. She's like, "Well, I didn't know what that meant." And I was like, "Yeah, because the Brooklyn Bridge behind it." She's like, "Oh, how clever." And I'm just laughing, because it was just the exchange that my mom and I often have with each other. But I never got the picture with me in it. So I'm laughing, get her to take the picture. I'm the one that loves the Beastie Boys. I'm the one that loves the sign. I love that it's a clear night. You can see the Brooklyn Bridge perfectly. And we were too busy laughing about the fact that my mom didn't know what it was for me to even actually take a picture with it. So there you go. I have a picture of my mom looking partially cool in front of the sign, but I never got one. Another really cool thing, years ago, I was staying in downtown Manhattan, and I was actually, it was when I was in marketing. I'm in sales now. And in marketing, I would buy ads in these industry trade publications. We called them trade rags. I don't know what you want to call them. But I was responsible for a couple $100,000 publication budget just for these trade. It wasn't for, like, I didn't do anything with commercials. It was mostly for print ads. And so I was buying from this gentleman that actually lived in Manhattan, and he knew that we were coming to New York City to go to a trade show that's held at the Javits Center. And we stayed that week at, it was the Tribeca Grand. It is now called the Roxy, but we absolutely enjoyed that. But one night, one of the people that we were actually, that I bought advertisement from, put us up in the St. Regis. And it was just like a treat. And one of my coworkers actually stayed with me. She's a Canadian woman, very nice woman. We had such a blast. And one of the coolest things about the St. Regis is, for the longest time, and now please don't quote me on this because I don't know if this is true or not, but at that time, they were the only 5-star hotel in Manhattan that still had a 24-hour butler service. And let me just tell you, the rooms in the St. Regis are stunning. They're massive. They're nothing like the tiny rooms that you get in most actually really nice hotels in Manhattan. The wallpaper was silk, and I just remember touching it and just thinking, oh my gosh. And the linens were the finest linens, and the bathroom was like the size of most New York um, hotel rooms. And Charmaine and should not have said her name. This gal and I went into the room, and we were just, you know, we were being tourists. We were loving it. We were taking pictures and stuff. So we went out for the night, and we decided to come in. And this was, you know, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we're like, let's do 24-hour butler service. We weren't hungry. We didn't need anything, but we're like, well, what do we do? What do we get? So they had a meat and like fruit board. And so we ordered a meat and fruit board and a bottle of champagne at 1 o'clock in the morning because we could. And of course they bring it, and it's on the tray, and it's got the silver domes on top of it. And we just had so much fun. It was a lot of fun. And so waking up that next morning, I was a little tired. And so she got a shower first. She went downstairs. I got a shower second. And I was coming down off the elevator because we were going to go and get bagels. And I came, you know, walking down off the elevator, and she was like, you're never going to believe who's outside. And I'm like, who? And she was like, Rod Stewart. I was like, no way. I'm like, are you serious? My parents love him. I'm like, my mom loves Rod Stewart. I hope he doesn't mind me telling the story. I'm sure he's never going to see this. But anyway, so I call my mom. She had newly retired from from her job, and so she was sleeping in. And I want to say this was like 9 o'clock. It wasn't super late, but I call her and I'm like, Mom. She's like, what? And I was like, she was like, why are you calling me so early? And I said, guess who I'm standing 3 feet away from? And she was like, who? Because I literally have had like this strange like way of meeting people. I've met very important people very randomly throughout my life. Like David Schwimmer, Ross from Friends, bought my girlfriends and I a round of drinks when we were out for a girlfriend's bachelorette party in Chicago. I thought that was super cool. By the way, he's much more attractive in person, but actually more quiet too. So, but anyway, I digress. So going back to the Rod Stewart thing, Mom had gotten tired of me telling her all these people that I met. I met Glenn Close. I met the lead singer of Blues Travelers that same week, you know. And so my mom always said that Rod Stewart is the sexiest man alive. So I was like, only the sexiest man alive. And you hear my mom jolt up. Like, I can tell that she's sat up in bed. And she's going, oh my gosh, Michelle, you have to go talk to Rod Stewart. And of course, I'm like, Mom, I'm not going to approach this man. He's, number one, I think with one of his bodyguards. He was with his wife, tall, beautiful model. His hair was perfectly messed up. And I never really saw what my mom saw in him. I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's great and everything. But when you're in front of him, he definitely has like that it factor. Very, very much so. And so I'm on the phone with my mom, and I'm 3 feet from, you know, him. And my mom lays the guilt trip on, you know. So I was raised Catholic Baptist, and so I can be guilted. Or I've been through every guilt trip known to man. It's very difficult to guilt trip me anymore because I've created developed a tolerance to them. But anyway, so I'm walking down the steps and I'm asking the bell guy, a doorman, I should say, where we can go and get bagels. And I'm still on the phone with my mom. And my mom is on the phone as I'm asking the doorman where to get bagels. And she's like, Michelle, I was in 36 hours of labor with you, and you have no idea, blah, blah, blah. I'm your mother, and how could you not? And anybody that knows my mom knows that this exactly happened, because that's just who my mom is. And so I finally turned on a heel, and I got the nerve, and I just turned around, and I said, Mr. Stewart, and he kind of rolled his eyes, because I don't think he liked that I called him Mr. Stewart. And I said, my mom and dad absolutely love you. You're their favorite. And I said, and their favorite song is Maggie Moo. And he said, oh, really? And I'm got a terrible English accent. And please, British accent, please, that's not meant to be offensive. And I said, yes. And I didn't realize I had said the wrong name of the song. And he said, is that your mom on the phone? And I can't say it. He said, is that your mom on the phone? But because the way that he said it, I said, what? And he said, is that your mom on the phone? And I hear my mom going, oh my gosh, is he talking to you? Are you talking to him? Did you just ask Rod Stewart where to get bagels? And I'm laughing because no, I didn't ask Rod Stewart where to get bagels. So he so graciously asked me to hand him the phone. And so he takes the phone. We're standing on the streets outside. He's waiting for his car at the St. Regis, his driver. And he proceeds to have a good 2 to 3 minute conversation with my mother on the phone. They talk about, Cincinnati's venue where my mother's going to see Rod Stewart play in concert several times. He talked about how he liked Cincinnati fans, and he was just so gracious, like sincerely so gracious. And so the cool thing is net of the story is Mom got to talk to Rod Stewart through me. Mom also got to laugh because she thought that I had asked him where to get bagels, like Rod Stewart would know where to get bagels. And then she proceeded to meet my dad for lunch and drove for 30 minutes in the wrong direction because she was so excited about having spoken to Rod Stewart. So fun stuff, right? Well, since we went to Manhattan and my mom had never been there before, I actually took her over to the St. Regis and I stood her on the steps that Rod Stewart was standing on when he was actually had my phone in his hand and was talking to her, and I took a picture of her there. So I hope that was a fun story for you. But yeah, and then while we were there, we got to speaking to a gentleman that was actually working in the restaurant, and he thought that we were coming to take a picture of a mural, which I didn't even realize that there was a significant mural there. So my bad. We did end up going to take a picture of that mural, but we ended up telling him what we were doing and the story about Rod Stewart. And he was like, that is so neat when you see people that have made it so big and they're so successful and they're probably inundated with people coming up to them all the time. It's really neat to just see them be humans. And so, again, just a connection, so it's like in that moment, I became a fan of Rod Stewart's. It's not that I was not a fan of his music, but I became a fan of him as a person, at least in that moment. The graciousness and the kindness and the fact that he took his time out of his day to make my mother feel so important. So, wow, I'm taking you through a couple of topics today, but at least I got to give you a story that you got to listen to. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, today's not about perfection. It's about the commitment, and hopefully I'll improve over time. And I just thank you for giving me a chance to talk to you, tell a story, give you a little glimpse into my life, and thank you. Yeah, so have a great day. I'm going to tell you I love you, and to make it a good one, go out and connect with somebody today. Tell somebody a story about your life. Tell somebody a story that you've told 100 times that still makes you smile. But tell the story. Connect with somebody today. Thank you. God bless. And I am going to be out of here.